There comes a moment in your life, not loud, not sudden, but quiet. Like a breath you didn't realize you were holding. You're not angry anymore. You're just done. Done explaining, done performing, done chasing men who forget you the moment the room goes quiet. And beneath that tiredness, something more ancient than pain, a hunger not to be chosen, but to be felt. Deeply, unmistakably, unforgettably. Because there's a kind of woman a man doesn't just remember, he replays her. Not because she gave him everything, but because something in her presence made him feel everything. She didn't flatter him. She echoed through him. She didn't chase, she provoked movement in him. And maybe no one ever taught you this, but emotional seduction isn't about trying harder. It's about stopping the try. About realizing, the moment you let go of the chase is the moment he begins one of his own. What if you didn't need louder words? Just deeper silence. What if your most powerful phrases weren't declarations, but soft disruptions that made him feel off-center? In the best way. This isn't about tricks. This isn't about making a man fall for a version of you. This is about revealing a frequency, one only the emotionally attuned can hear. Because men don't fall in love with logic, they fall into mystery, and the woman who speaks from her center becomes that mystery. Not through noise, but through knowing. If this already stirs something inside you, pause and let it matter. Like this video, subscribe for more, and share your thoughts below. Your story isn't random, it's symbolic. And every comment carries the energy of someone waking up to themselves. Now, let's begin. You're not here to be loud, you're here to be felt. And when a man feels something he can't explain, he doesn't walk away. He follows. They told you femininity was softness. But they forgot to tell you about the kind of softness that doesn't move when tested. The kind that doesn't flinch, doesn't beg, doesn't rush to explain itself. The kind that waits, like stone waits for the sea. That's not fragility. That's stoicism. And it might be the most misunderstood form of feminine power in the modern world. We hear stoic and we think cold, unemotional, withdrawn. But true stoicism, it's not the absence of emotion, it's the leadership of emotion. And when a woman leads her emotional world, not by suppression, but by stillness, her presence becomes undeniable. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." But you, woman, you were born with a different kind of power. The power to influence a man's emotional field. Not through demand, but through rhythm. Through the way you pause before speaking. The way you hold silence like it's sacred. The way your gaze unsettles because it doesn't need to be returned. She doesn't chase, she reflects, she doesn't react, she recalibrates. The stoic woman knows there is seduction in silence, there is impact in ambiguity, there is power in withholding. Not to punish, but to provoke. This isn't manipulation, it's emotional discipline. And discipline is what creates tension, and tension is what creates desire. Most women try to create closeness through comfort, but the woman who truly leaves a mark knows that mystery creates movement. She becomes the riddle his body wants to solve, but can't, and doesn't need to. Because every time he's near her, his nervous system says, "Don't move, just feel." Seneca wrote, "Most powerful who has himself in his own power." Let's rewrite that. Most irresistible is she who holds herself in her own presence. Because presence isn't posture, it's a field, and you can't fake it. Not with words. Not with tactics. Only with stillness. Stillness that says, "I don't need to chase you because I know what I carry." Stillness that walks into a room and doesn't bend to the mood, it sets the mood. Stillness that invites a man into his own depths simply by not abandoning yours. It's not loud, it's not flashy, it's not something anyone will compliment, but it's the one thing he'll go home and ache for. Because it's rare. A woman who speaks little, but with intention, who leaves space, not because she has nothing to say, but because she understands, desire grows in the pause. She speaks like a well, deep, quiet, filled with what most have never tasted. And when she does speak, she doesn't try to impress, she reminds him that something ancient still lives in him, the part that listens with his chest instead of his ears. That's not performance, that's feminine magnetism. And stoicism for her isn't detachment, it's clarity. It's the woman who chooses what to feel, how much, when, and how to turn that feeling into energy. That stays in him long after she's gone. Carl Jung once said, "Man becomes whole only when he integrates the feminine." But what does that mean for you? It means that when you sit across from a man, still, aware, quietly awake, you are not just a woman in a chair. You are the mirror of something missing in him. He doesn't know it. He can't name it, but he feels it like a tug under the skin, an ache he thought was ambition. Until he met you, you are not the thing he chases. You are the image that lives in the chase itself. In Jungian psychology, we call this image the anima, the feminine soul image that lives in the unconscious of every man. She's not flesh, she's a symbol. And symbols, Jung said, are the best possible expression for something unknown. That's the secret. You are not meant to be fully known. You are meant to be felt, deeply and mysteriously, as the symbol he cannot define, but cannot stop circling. When a woman is centered in herself, emotionally awake and symbolically alive, she activates this archetype. She becomes more than a woman. She becomes a psychic event, a myth he can't unfeel. This is why he doesn't remember what dress you wore, but he remembers what happened in his chest when you looked at him and said nothing. He remembers the silence, the pause, the question your gaze placed in his psyche like a match waiting to be struck. She saw something in me, and I don't even know what it was. That isn't seduction. That's projection. Jung taught that in every interaction, we project unconscious material onto the other. And when a woman lives from her symbolic core, not her social mask, she becomes a screen for his deepest longing. He doesn't fall in love with you. He falls in love with what awakens in him when he's in your presence. You are not the object. You are the catalyst. You are not his fantasy. You are the part of him he forgot. The part that yearns for depth but fears drowning. The part that craves stillness but runs from quiet. The part that wants to be known, but only by someone who doesn't need to know him. Because knowing kills the mystery. And it's the mystery that moves him. You see, individuation, Jung's word for the soul's path to wholeness, is not about perfection. It's about integration. And you, woman, are the invitation to that integration. Not by healing him, not by mothering him, not by impressing him, but by staying anchored in your own symbolic depth. By letting your energy speak what your words never say. That's why it's not the sentence he remembers. It's the vibration it carried. That's why it's not your laugh that haunts him. It's the moment after, when you went quiet and he still felt you in the air. A woman like that doesn't need to be seen. She sees. She doesn't ask to be chosen. She chooses. She walks through a man's psyche like a lucid dream, and when he wakes, something is missing. That something is you. Words are not the message. They are the carrier wave. You've been taught to communicate like a checklist. Say the right thing. Explain yourself clearly. Fill the space with proof of who you are. But the woman who moves a man deeply rarely speaks from logic. She speaks from energy. Her tone doesn't ask, it lands. Her pauses say more than her paragraphs. And her words, they echo. That is emotional language. And it isn't taught in schools, it's remembered in silence. Because a man doesn't fall in love with what you say. He falls in love with what your words make him feel about himself. And that happens not in your phrasing, but in your presence. This is why some women speak volumes and leave no trace, while another speaks one phrase and it stays in him for years. He won't even know why. He'll just feel it again. When he hears that tone in another woman's voice and realizes it's not hers he's missing, it's yours. So what makes your language unforgettable? Not performance, not precision, but subtext. Subtext is what rides beneath your words. It's the emotion you don't name, the pause you don't fill, the vulnerability you don't explain. It's what he feels between the syllables. A single sentence from a centered woman carries more charge than a dozen lines from someone trying to be liked. Because she's not trying to persuade. She's letting her presence provoke. She speaks slowly, not to be dramatic, but because she knows. Every word holds weight when it comes from a woman who doesn't need to speak. He listens to her not because she demands it, but because her words arrive like a secret. Not shouted, not rushed, revealed. And she knows this. Emotion doesn't need clarity, it needs impact. So when she says something like, "There's something about you that throws me off center," she's not giving away power. She's creating a question inside him. A question he'll carry. A question that keeps him emotionally tethered. Because the part of the phrase that wasn't said is the part he replays. This is the art of seduction through subtext. It's not about flattering his ego. It's about stirring his unconscious. That's why silence is not your enemy. It's your greatest tool. When you let a sentence breathe, when you stop filling the moment out of nervousness, you begin to create a field around your words, and that field is where memory is born. He remembers you not because you were loud, but because you were still. Because your words arrived like drops in water, and the ripples kept moving after you left. This isn't about scripted phrases, it's about your emotional frequency. It's about letting your voice carry your inner stillness. A woman who masters emotional language knows less is more. Soft is strong. Ambiguity is power. She knows that if she says too much, the spell breaks. If she explains too far, the mystery dies. But if she waits just long enough, speaks just softly enough, with just enough restraint, he feels it. He feels the part of him that wants to chase, not because she demanded it, but because something in her tone made him feel seen and unsettled, and called forward all at once. That is emotional mastery. That is subtext. And the woman who learns this, who stops trying to be understood and starts learning to transmit, doesn't walk through life asking, "Do you like me?" She walks like someone who knows you'll feel me, whether you want to or not. There are words that pass through a man's mind, and then there are words that pierce his memory. Not because they were clever, but because of how they landed, when they were said, and who said them. Let me be clear. These are not scripts. They are emotional keys, and if you use them from the wrong place, chasing, needing, proving, they will fall flat. But if you use them from your center, with quiet poise and complete presence, they don't just speak to the man in front of you. They speak to the man inside him, the one who's been waiting to feel something he can't explain. Here are the 3 forbidden phrases. Phrase number 1. There's something about you that throws me off center. I don't even know what it is. Don't rush this one. It's not a compliment. It's a disturbance, the beautiful kind. A man hears this not with his ego, but with his unconscious. Because what you're really saying is, you affect me in a way I haven't mapped yet. And for a man, that is intoxicating. Why? Because it tells him he has power, but it's not power you've handed him. It's power he's still trying to understand. And what we don't understand, we chase. But here's the secret. This phrase must come from presence, not performance. Say it when there's already tension in the air, after a long gaze, a moment of silence, a night where words were few but eyes spoke often. Let it come out like a confession you didn't plan. Let your voice lower, let your breath slow. There's something about you that throws me off center. I don't even know what it is. You're not losing control. You're suggesting a shift. You're showing him his impact and leaving him to wonder why it matters so much to you. That wonder becomes a thread in his mind, and long after you're gone, he's still pulling on it. Phrase number 2. You have a way of distracting me, and you don't even realize it. This one carries duality, a soft pull and a subtle challenge in the same breath. You're not praising him, you're not surrendering, you're telling him, you're affecting me. But I'm still in control of the moment. That's emotional gold, because it does 2 things at once. It makes him feel seen and awakens his masculine desire to create even more effect. Jung said, "What is not made conscious appears as fate." This phrase brings to light what he hasn't fully owned, that he moves something in you. But you're not giving him the full map, you're just leaving a trail, and that trail leads him back to you. Say it during laughter, or right after a moment of playful intimacy. Let it be a gentle disruption. Tilt your head slightly, smirk like you're in on a secret. You have a way of distracting me, and you don't even realize it. Don't explain, don't follow it up. Let it hang in the air. Because when you give a man a mystery about himself, one only you seem to perceive, he'll follow that mirror for miles. Phrase number 3. If I kissed you right now, I know you wouldn't be able to resist. Now we enter bold terrain. This is not flirtation, it's psychic certainty. And it's only for the woman who can hold the silence that follows. Because this phrase doesn't ask, it declares. You are not inviting a kiss. You are planting a vision. A scene he didn't expect but now can't stop seeing. The feminine voice, when rooted in intention, doesn't need to seduce. It simply states what already exists beneath the surface. So if you say this, say it when the room is thick with emotional charge. After a deep conversation, when the air feels electric and still. Look at him, slowly, unshaken. Lower your voice, not to be sexy, but to pull the moment in. If I kissed you right now, I know you wouldn't be able to resist. Then hold. Don't laugh, don't fidget, let the silence do the work. What you're doing is far more than teasing. You're creating an image with emotion. And as Jung wrote, an image accompanied by feeling is more powerful than 1,000 rational arguments. That's what this phrase becomes, an emotional imprint, a scene that lives in his body, a what-if that becomes a craving. And whether or not the kiss ever comes, he's already undone. Each of these phrases carries emotional voltage, but only when spoken from a woman who needs nothing from the man she's speaking to. Because when you say them without seeking, without chasing, without trying to get a response, you stop being a woman using words and become a symbol moving through him. He won't say it out loud, but in his own quiet way, he'll chase you for more of that feeling. And he won't even know why. Let's pause. Because this is where most women fall out of their center. Not because they don't want to be powerful, but because they've been told their power is in doing more. More effort, more talking, more vulnerability, more answers. But attraction isn't a performance. It's a frequency. And frequency gets distorted when it's laced with emotional need. So let's speak clearly, gently but truthfully about the most common mistakes women make when they try to use language to create connection. Mistake number 1, over-efforting. You used the phrase, you said the words, but underneath it all, you were waiting for a reaction. He felt that. Because men don't just hear your words, they feel your energy underneath them. When you speak from hunger, from hope, from the need to be chosen, your phrases become asks, not art. He won't say it out loud, but something in him will retreat, not because he doesn't like you, but because your energy said, please tell me I'm enough. And that energy is not magnetic, it's grasping. So remember, you're not here to earn his desire, you're here to awaken it. That only happens from a place of non-urgency. Mistake number 2, emotional overexposure. Many women confuse vulnerability with exhaustive disclosure. They think, if I tell him everything, my past, my wounds, my fears, he'll feel close to me. But emotional proximity doesn't come from oversharing. It comes from emotional presence. You don't need to bleed your story to be felt. You just need to reveal one note of it with depth and self-awareness. Mystery doesn't mean being closed. It means being measured. A woman who shares with restraint doesn't hide. She chooses. And that choice makes a man respect her inner world because he knows he's not entitled to it. That respect creates emotional tension, and tension is the soil of desire. Mistake number 3, using powerful phrases from the wrong place. Let's be honest. You can take the exact same phrase, say it from 2 different energies, and get opposite results. If you say, there's something about you that throws me off center, but your eyes are scanning his for approval, he won't feel moved. He'll feel the gap you were hoping he'd fill. You used the right phrase, but the wrong energy. And energy speaks louder than words. What creates the imprint is not the language. It's the woman behind the language. A woman who says little but feels deeply leaves the deepest mark because she's not trying to be understood. She's choosing to be felt. Mistake number 4, trying to hold his attention instead of holding her center. When you send texts too quickly, when you chase the next response, when you're constantly wondering, is he still interested? You've already left yourself. And when you leave your center, you leave the very place where your magnetism lives. A man doesn't stay for how much you give. He stays for how much he feels when you give nothing at all. If your presence feels like open space, not pressure, he returns. Because men don't chase noise, they chase mystery. And mystery only survives when you're no longer trying to be predictable, likable, or always available. So the question is never, did I say the right thing? The question is, where was I speaking from? Was it anxiety or intention? Was it longing or awareness? Because when you speak from the right place, you don't just enter his ears. You enter his unconscious. And that, dear woman, is where memory begins. You were never meant to chase. You were meant to carry the current, the quiet, steady rhythm of a woman who doesn't move to be seen but is seen because she no longer moves for approval. You don't need to perform. You need to return. Return to your breath, to your stillness, to that silent part of you that doesn't seek love, but evokes it, not because of what you say, but because of what your presence does. A man doesn't remember the perfect outfit, or the clever text, or the moment you tried to impress him. He remembers the imprint, the space you didn't fill, the gaze that lingered a moment too long, the sentence that carried 10 others inside it. He doesn't remember what you said. He remembers who he became in your silence. That's the power of a woman in her center. She doesn't explain her worth, she embodies it. And that embodiment becomes a mirror, one he both wants to enter and fears he'll never be able to fully hold. But that's what keeps him coming back. Not to possess you, but to keep remembering what it felt like to be near you. Because you were never forgotten, you were formative. So say the phrases, if they rise from your truth. Let them fall softly, like a thread dropped into deep water. But say them only when your silence is already enough. Because that's what makes them unforgettable. Not the words, not the timing, but the woman behind them, sovereign, still, and unapologetically whole. Because he won't chase what he understands. He chases what he can feel, but never quite define. And that, dear one, is you. If this resonated, like this video and subscribe, not for me, but for you. So this kind of language keeps finding you. Leave a comment below. What part of him did you awaken, and what part of you finally remembered herself?